shopping addiction. And then the last question is, I shop and buy so much, it's impaired my well-being. It's like you have all of these issues and everything trying to manage this shopping addiction, and you're having problems. You're having problems with other people. You start to feel terrible about yourself. You feel guilty and shameful because you done lied to people to try to get money to get your shopping addiction. You've maxed out your credit cards and you got to lie to your spouse about what's going on. So these are some of the aspects for a shopping addiction. And so that's what each one of the 7 questions hits upon, all the aspects of what would be considered problematic shopping behavior. And so the voice asked about, how are you supposed to know if you have an addiction? So the people who came up with this measure, if you answered agree or strongly agree on 4 out of the 7 items, did anybody do that? Did anybody measure? Did anybody check agree or strongly agree on 4 or more? Type it in the chat. Let us know. I know I didn't. Actually, I scored a 4 on 1, voice.
Well, you know what? Actually, I'd like to know what that 4 was, but I also will say that I don't think everybody should have to reveal like it. I almost feel like
if you want to.
Yeah. I think it's a matter if you're comfortable, right? Because I don't want anybody to feel bad about it. I mean, I think if you know that you didn't score where you want to score, I think awareness is really an important aspect of it. And the term I use is economic consciousness. Consciousness means just sort of being aware of what's going on and aware of these financial liabilities. Because, if your wealth isn't where you want it to be, that means something's missing, right? So in awareness, it's like fixing your car. If it's not moving right, it's making a funny noise. Well, awareness is when you're breaking down and talking to the mechanic and they're going through the car to figure out where your issue might be. So then at that point, once you have that awareness.
People put their scores in there, but if you feel comfortable, if anyone scored agree or disagree on 4 items or more out of that scale, according to the researchers, then that is a warning sign that you have a problematic shopping behavior. And so that's where you might want to start thinking about maybe seeing a professional, or maybe start reevaluating, now that you become aware of this, reevaluating how you're shopping and what you're doing. And, I know some, I've worked with couples, who have this sort of issue that pops up in the relationship. And sometimes they'll just like, you know what? I've given my wife all of my credit cards, all of my debit cards. So I'll let my wife handle this, and then she'll give me cash money every week. And so I just learned that whenever I'm stressed out, I let her know this is triggering me. And so there's different ways where couples can kind of manage the stress and thinking of better ways to deal with the stress and some of the depression and some of the anxiety that comes up with the shopping addiction. So anything on this, voice, before we move on?
I want to know, what did you get a 4 on?
I got a 4 on changing my mood. It really does. It changes my mood. I would agree with that. I shop in order to change my mood. So I'm not going to lie, retail therapy is a real thing. But all the other scores were low. I don't think about shopping at all. It doesn't affect my daily obligations. I don't have to do more of it. When I want to cut back, I can cut back. Okay. It hasn't impaired anything. And so I don't feel bad if I'm prevented, but I did put like a 4. It does help my mood. I ain't gonna lie. I feel kind of good.
So let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question then. Since we want to be solution oriented, then is there a way that I can acknowledge that retail therapy is beneficial to me and actually benefit from it in a way that does not ruin me economically? Like, what do you have any thoughts or guidelines? If not, I can come up with some things.
Okay, come up with it. But my next slide does talk about how to deal with it. There's some.
Okay, then let's go to the next slide.
Okay, so yeah, there's things you can do do to help deal with issues with excessive shopping, cognitive behavioral therapy, group therapy is the most promising thing that researchers have found. Like they've looked at all different sorts of interventions, but cognitive behavioral group therapy appears to be the most promising, which is kind of cool because it sparked my interest voice. I'm like, okay, I got to do a cognitive behavioral therapy group. Like I've got to, in a format where it's not a webinar. Like this format is group therapy, but it's in a webinar format. I'm talking about a closed group. Nobody can hear you. Everybody's face is on the screen, and we're having straight up group therapy on a particular topic. And so that's something that I was like, wow, online group therapy is actually some of the most promising interventions with excessive shopping and probably with a lot of other stuff. So that was something that I was like, maybe this will be something that we can offer. Mindfulness training helps. And what we're finding too is that it specifically helps with online shopping addictions. And again, with that one click, they're finding that when you practice mindfulness techniques, where you take deep breathing while you're on the machine, while you're on your computer, and like stop and, and even become more conscientious, thinking about things before you just impulsively try to do something. And, session 5, if anybody want to go back to session 5, we talked about trauma in your finances. And one of the things we talked about was this lack of mindfulness. Like it's your prefrontal lobe is activated and it's this fight or flight. And so you become very impulsive, and your ability to stop and think, is impacted by history of trauma and painful things that have happened to you that have been unresolved. And so this mindfulness technique is just going to help you all across the board, and definitely with excessive shopping. Another thing about conscientiousness is that people who are conscientious about, just knowledgeable about consumers, and how we're preyed upon to purchase things, like knowledgeable about marketing strategies. Just having that sort of mindfulness is also a way to kind of deal with excessive shopping. And it's really interesting because I was talking to my dad many years ago, and he was saying, I don't know why we just don't give drug addicts, give them that book, Dope Inc. Anybody know this book, Dope Incorporated? Y'all should read that book. He was like, if anyone who's a drug addict read that book, I don't see how they could even use drugs anymore, because it talks about how it's an industry. They're preying off of you. It's a whole economy that's being filtered just because they want to specifically put drugs in you. And so just that knowledge, being more conscientious, not only about how you're being taken advantage of as consumers, that can help you deal with excessive shopping. This is one of the things I do a lot, and Boyce knows. I look at my credit card bill statement. I look at every statement. I look at every charge that's on there. And what's interesting is that, everything is so digital. Like I can pay all of my credit card bills and never look at the statement. Just go ahead and pay it. It's emailed to me. And I said, oh, no, I'm going to stop and open up this credit card bill and look at every single charge on there. And not so that I know I can pay it, but it's just so that I can tell myself what I did over the month, because I don't even think about it. I just be like, I'm in the store. I'm like, pull out my phone, Apple Pay, ding, I could just ding things all day. And I always reach out to Boyce. I'm like, Boyce, would you please tell me if I overspend? And he's like, I'll tell you, you don't overspend. I'm like, would you tell me if I was overspending? I really want to have that feedback. So yeah, and I think compulsive shoppers, they tend to be people who bury their head in the sand and they want to ignore their credit card bill. You've enjoyed buying things, and so you need to feel the pain of buying things. You can't just have the joy of spending, boom, boom, spending here and there. You got to feel the pain, because you got to say, okay, I'm done. I ain't doing that for the rest of the year. I'm going to pull back. Buying things in cash, that was a big thing. They were saying you should never, ever just rely totally on your credit card bills. And I know, Boyce, you do that all the time. I'm like, why are you pulling cash out? Keep your cash. Boy just buys things with cash, and that's really smart. That's actually the smart thing to do. Another thing, again, this comes with self-actualization, is that, consumer purchasing of material items, it's going to make you happy, but it's going to be very short-lived. And so if you instead say, you know what, I'm going to put this effort and this energy into paying for life experiences, what we're finding is that if you invest in life experiences, purchasing material items will make you happy, but if it fades fast. But purchasing life experiences actually makes you feel happier, and it gives you a better sense of well-being. Buying life experiences is actually pretty valuable. And that's what we know about, making things last, taking pictures, looking back at them, like consumer, paying all this money, get your hair done, like that's going to fade in a few days. It's going to fade out of existence. But just going on hiking tours, I like to do destination runs, and we went to Yellowstone. I'll never forget Yellowstone. It was expensive, but I'll never forget Yellowstone. So things like that can make you happy. I think these are things that you can do. Of course, you can always see a therapist. I'm always available for you if you need. You can go to boyceandalicia.com, Dr. Boyce Prime, to get our previous recordings, Prime students and everyone in the masterclass. So if you go to my website and you type in there, I'm Dr. Boyce's Prime student, or I am part of the masterclass, you put that in there, and then I can verify it. Of course, if I can see you registered in there, you will receive a discount. Anything you want to talk about?
I thought that last slide was awesome. I thought it was so good. I didn't even know, that's what I'm telling you, it's the privilege of being married to such a smart woman. I didn't even know that last slide was really in there with those recommendations. And let me just tell you, I completely approve this message. Like, I really want everyone to really understand that right there, what she just laid out for you kind of gives you the keys to the kingdom financially. You kind of hit on so many great points. And what I want to do is kind of address some of them. As I was thinking about, I was just sitting there smiling, because I really think you guys are smart and ahead of the curve, because you're picking up these things now, and you're being very conscious about it. And I want to congratulate you for that. So, so let's kind of, start from the jump on this. Okay, so joining an online group. One of the things that I like about that is, number one, I've been a big advocate of various forms of therapy to establish awareness, and ultimately, it's like therapy became an investment for me to protect my wealth. When I talk to you guys about the 4 stages of wealth, learning where the money is, making a plan to get the money, accumulating the money, and then 4th is protecting the money. I talk about things like advice and financial awareness and stuff like that. And so the reason I like the idea of joining that group is because, number one, therapy is beneficial. I'm a big advocate. But then number 2, people tend to follow the crowd. Even people who claim to not follow the crowd or be influenced by the crowd, we're all influenced by our peer group. Like they always say that if your 4 best friends are broke, you're going to be the 5th one. So if you're in a group of people, this is why it's important to be in these groups. And what we're going to do is we have a virtual campus, and I got to bring you guys into our metaverse campus for the Black Business School. We've been doing a lot of really interesting things that I think are pretty innovative. And it gives you a chance to connect as a group. And we're going to invite you guys in soon, I promise. Some of you have already been there, but I'll invite the others in soon. Getting in the right group, I cannot overestimate how that allows you to really elevate your game on autopilot, because every study will show you that even when you think you're not influenced by the group, you are influenced by the group. So even if you're a person that can rise above peer pressure and everything else, don't make it hard on yourself. Get away from the group that's bringing you down and get with a group that's going to elevate you and make it easy for you to elevate. Next, mindfulness techniques. That relates to something I refer to as financial consciousness. So economic consciousness It's just awareness. I'll give you an example where I first became aware of economic awareness was when I was 17 years old, and I used to work at, all these fast food restaurants, Taco Bell, Wendy's, and all that stuff. And I would get my paycheck, and I would literally, does anybody remember that when you get your check and you cash it and you feel like you're the richest man in the world? Like you literally run around like Diddy and you just throwing money, making it rain everywhere because you're like, oh, that's only $5. That's only $10. And you got $250. So $5 here, $10 there is no big deal. And then what would always happen, at least to me, what would happen is I didn't realize I was becoming financially drunk. It was like I would go on like a binge, like a drug addict. And it wasn't until years later when I studied financial psychology, working on my doctorate, that I realized that money affects your brain like cocaine. So literally I was high. So what would happen is inevitably, as I would go through the same hamster wheel, the same treadmill of being rich and then spending my way back to being poor again, and then having to go to work again so I can get another check so I can be rich again. So you're literally like a drug addict. You're going from high to low, high to low, high to low, high, low, high, low, high, low. And some of us continue that cycle all throughout our lives, paycheck to paycheck. And it comes from a lack of awareness. So when you are aware and you're kind of monitoring where your money's going, then you're more likely to remember where your money went. Because when I would spend all my money, I would say, God, where did the money go? Man, how did I spend all that money? Well, keeping budgets and stuff like that, that's a type of financial awareness that will minimize the chances that you go broke. It's no different from if you talk about, think about it. Why do you think when somebody's trying to have sex with you, why do you think they offer you more wine? Because they don't want you to be aware. They want you to kind of just go with the moment and go with the flow. Next thing you know, you got a terrible baby daddy. And you're like, how did this happen? Well, it's because your consciousness kind of disappeared. And that goes actually to the next point. When you talk about mindfulness techniques and consciousness, I think those kind of go hand in hand. I think sort of having those moments where you stop and say, okay, what am I doing now? Where am I? Where have I been? Where am I going? Where am I trying to avoid? That's really important, I think, not just for financial choices, but health choices, relationships, everything. My therapist did a great job of helping me understand mindfulness. And so it got to the point where if I got into a crazy conversation on text and I found myself getting emotional, I would text her and say, what should I say right now? Or how do you think I should handle this? Because this is really, I'm really feeling elevated right now. And so that mindfulness and that consciousness, it applies to everything and it works all the time. People who get where they want to get to are people who are always aware of your internal spiritual and psychological GPS, period. Next, looking at your credit card statement. Yes, a lot of people, they go broke, they go into denial. You don't pay attention to the credit score. You don't pay attention to where your wealth is. Don't even know your net worth. Don't even know kind of have an idea of your income. And that's about it. And I'm not making fun of anybody that's in this category. I get it. A lot of us have been in that space because sometimes it's painful to have to deal with all that. But it's just like, being in denial about your physical health. If you are in denial and you don't want to go to the doctor because you swear you're healthy, then one day the cancer is just going to kill you because denying the cancer doesn't make it go away. It's still there. Right. Next, paying for items with cash. That connects back to financial awareness. When I'm paying with cash, I specifically run out of cash at a point that I predefined as my limit. That is my limit. That's like I'm drinking in the bar. I have a 2-drink limit. At the second drink, so a bell goes off, something goes off that tells me no more drinks for you tonight. I stop drinking. I'm more likely to stop. When I give myself a limit. Last but not least, life experiences. There are studies that show that spending money on experiences gives you the most fulfillment long term. That things are not that things just you spend money on things. They're probably most things you spent your money on in 2014. You probably don't even remember what you bought. But but in 2014, I remember I took a trip to Europe. I remember that trip. It was formative. It shaped me in certain ways. When my wife and I went to China, we went to China in 2019. I remember that, but I don't remember the things, the clothes and the watches and the whatever, So
remember the kids, we spent Christmas in Baganera Island in Guyana.
Oh, that was so much fun.
And even to this day, we did not buy the kids not one gift. Even to this day, the kids were like, that was my favorite Christmas. It was their favorite Christmas and they got no gifts.
Yeah, Baganera Island is this island right off of Guyana, and it didn't cost much. It probably cost what it cost about $100 or something. It's very cheap.
Yeah,
We
well,
rode a rickety little airplane that probably
don't
scared me.
remind
I know
me.
it probably scared you to death. And we landed on this little island that was very minimalist. There was almost nothing there except good food, a couple hammocks. See, and literally it was so much fun that you could eat your dinner and then take a nap right next to the dinner table, like in the common area. Little cabins with very simple accommodation. Everything was super simple. And I remember it was pouring rain one of the days,
We didn't
but
even care.
we did not care. We watched Home Alone. There was a bunch of families there. We didn't even know them, but we got to know them. And they showed Home Alone on the big screen. And we sat there as a family, watched Home Alone, and ate this good food and took naps. Like you'd be taking a nap like right in the middle of everybody. And it was so much. And to this day, the kids tell us that that was the best Christmas. It wasn't the Christmas where we spent all the money. It was the Christmas where we spent the time and had the experience and shared the love. And that's what I want you to just kind of process. You probably know this already, but I want to just reiterate to you that the love is I mean that's the stuff that money can't buy. You know, so that's how you can give your children a valuable Christmas. Now, if you want to buy them something, buy them some shares of stock and say something to them that will plant a seed in their mind. Maybe something you learned from this class. That because what will happen is because economic training is going to be so different from what they're getting from the rest of the world. And we're qualified to do that. You know, we have doctorates in this stuff, so we're able to kind of tell you mind-blowing stuff that's buried deep in some research paper that most people don't know about, or connect dots in really unique ways. So tell them something that's going to really stick out. Grab something from this class, give your child a share of stock, give them also a financial lesson, and I guarantee you 20 years later, they're going to remember what you told them, and they're going to be applying a lot of what you said. You know, so that's my thought on that issue. I'll let you take the floor again, babe.
No, I mean, that's all I have for the day. I do think that there are ways in which you can today, after today, you can assess and recognize if this is an issue for you. It can't, maybe it's not, you know, a full-on shopping addiction, but at least now you know what it looks like and how close you are to that, to that shopping addiction. I think that today, you know, the importance of having really good coping mechanisms to the stress that's happening with all of us. We're all of us are kind of stressed out about things, and looking for healthy ways to cope with the stress and all of the things that you're going through, especially around the holiday season. It can be very stressful for a lot of us. This is where we're reminded of some of the people in our lives that aren't here with us. I love the fact that people are way more comfortable now during this time, getting in close contact with each other, because several Christmases ago, it was just almost like, why would you gather at Christmas time? You could be killing grandma by, by gathering together at Christmas. And I think now that we've gotten a little comfortable, you know, in that sort of way, hopefully, we can now just really discover what's important. And that's close connection with an actual person, not with these things that may be temporary. Those memories last forever. I'm addicted to hanging out with boys. How about that? I'm addicted to you, boys.
I'm addicted to you. By the way, if anybody has a question, please put the question in the Q&A section. Let's see. Vince says Dr. Boyce buys coffee or he's in a bad mood. Absolutely. I got my coffee cup right here, so don't mess with me without my coffee. Next one, Vince says, are we still going to do the secrets to no stress and how stress is an illusion, or will we do that next week? Did you want to?
Yeah, so that is going to be the next time. Okay, so this is a bonus. This is a bonus for the people who are in the masterclass. This is session number 8 for the people who've been coming. I recognize your names. The people who have been coming to the Prime group. So we will start, because we know next week is Christmas and the week after that is New Year's. So we will start, I think it's January 8th. That'll be session 4. That'll be session 3. And session 3, we'll talk about how not to be stressed. So that's that's what we're going to tackle in session 3. And that's going to be January 8th, right, boys? Okay, so that's going to be January 8th. And then the following week after that, we're going to talk about how you can have your plan, what you can do going forward. Boyce is going to take the lead on that last class session, right, Boyce? Boyce is taking the lead, putting the slides together on that last one. The part about healing and the part about the mindfulness and all of that, that's what we will talk about on January 8th. Oh, wait, you're muted, Boyce.
Oh, okay. Well, let me see. Solomon says, please post the presentation. Yes, we will give you all the slides. So a couple ways you can get access to the slides. We will put them in both programs. If you're in the Prime program, drboyceprime.com is how you can log in there, and just look under Alicia's Money Mindset Masterclass. It's going to be there. Also, I'm going to place this in the Love and Money Masterclass, the Black Family Wealth training that you guys are doing. So we kind of combined a couple of groups for this this particular training. So if you're in the Black Family Wealth Love and Money Masterclass, you will have access to this, and this will be yours for life. You paid one membership fee, you have access forever. So so feel free to share it with your family. You know, one membership covers your family, or you can bring a buddy, whatever the case may be. And you get one login, but you can share it. So so share this information. This makes a difference. These are the kinds of little things that you do that put your family in a different wealth space than other families. A lot of families are